So, moving on to the NFC to preview their wild card weekend slate of games. We'll start off with the Green Bay Packers, 11-6, versus the 14-3 Philadelphia Eagles, coming off a week where they were able to rest their starters. They didn't go for the all-time rushing record for a single season with Saquon Barkley. Instead, they chose to rest everybody. And if there was like NFL karma gods, I would say that they would lose and it would be very funny and everyone would be like, hey, should have just gone for the record. I don't know if I necessarily believe that the karma gods are all powerful all the time, though, it is something that happens in the NFL occasionally. I do think that the Eagles will, just like they did in week one, beat the Packers, but just like in week one before Jordan Love is hurt, this will be like an exciting, interesting matchup between a 2-7. Very different than what I expect from the 2-7 matchup in the AFC. If you saw that in the last video, or if you're watching the podcast / listening to the podcast, you just heard me speak about it. So I'm picking the Eagles to move on to the divisional round. Commanders and Buccaneers. Commanders the 6th seed, though 12-5, and the Bucs the 3 seed at 10-7. So great year for the Commanders. Dan Quinn, Jaden Daniels have just really brought Washington back from the brink. They were in a dark place before. They are cruising right now. And then Baker Mayfield, feel good story for the Bucs, getting Mike Evans his 1,000-yard season at the very end of the game last year. Very good vibes. I think this will be one of the more fun games in the playoffs this year. I think that it'll be a hard fought game to be sure, but I do feel like the Bucs are going to win. Home field advantage, granted, Tampa, nice weather, especially this time of year. I wish I was there instead of where I am, where it's currently 20 degrees and extremely windy. I don't know if you can hear the wind. My filter might catch it, but it is howling outside. I wish I were in Tampa Bay, but I will pick the Buccaneers to advance to the divisional round there. And then I've been pretty, I think, across the board in these last couple of videos, being like, okay, these are the obvious winners, but this next one, we have the Vikings, the 5 seed, 14-3, playing the Rams at 10-7. The Rams are one of those 3 losses for the Vikings. And I think I'm looking at this and I'm saying, hey, Vikings played really bad last game. And the Rams are on an absolute heater, a hot streak, if you will, playing some of the best football that they've played all season. The Vikings had to play for the 1 seed last year. They just played a playoff game last week. My apologies, not last year. Last week, they just played a playoff game for the 1 seed. They lost. They're probably a bit beaten up versus the Rams, who got to rest their starters because they already had the division wrapped up. I'm going to pick the Rams. I don't know if that's a controversial pick. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I just think with Matt Stafford, he's got one last ride here to move on to the divisional round and potentially, really add to his legacy. I mean, he has the Super Bowl win, but he's really not had many deep runs in the playoffs throughout his career, despite being one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL during his career. And I think this year, Matt Stafford has another run, maybe to the NFC Championship game, maybe to the Super Bowl. Don't want to get too crazy, but, I do like the Rams. I do think that they're a solid team. And in the NFC, Stafford might be the best quarterback of these playoff teams. That is controversial. You can clip that. You can make fun of me if they immediately get bounced here, but I do think, Super Bowl champion got all the experience here in the NFC. I think that the Rams could go on a little run here. So those are my picks for the NFC. Let me know. Do you agree? Disagree? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments.